Many of us have been exposed to retirement planning that focuses solely on financial planning. Very important. This is good. This is critical. But we don't pay as much attention to beyond finances, when it's very important that we do that as well. Because we expect to live into our 8th and 9th decade of life. And this longevity revolution has changed our working and it's changed our post-working lives. So in general, we are working longer because we want to, usually because we need to, and we envision retirement very differently than we did a few decades ago. Historically, retirement has been seen as a transition from work to leisure, as a stepping down, as a stopping. Retirement was about going from work with not much attention to what we were going toward. So simply thinking of retirement as a time of stopping work and entering leisure has not worked for many people. This old vision doesn't serve us anymore because we have 20 to 30 years in this retirement phase. And we need meaningful engagement. We need social connections during this longer period of life to be happy, healthy human beings. We will use the word retirement because as yet, there's no better language, but we have a better vision in mind for all of us. So this seminar is about your next move, life after transitioning from work, wherever you are transitioning from. A lot of you are associated with Washington University tonight. The purpose of the seminar is to get you thinking, to get you planning for your next chapter, whether you're retiring soon, whether you're retiring a while from now, whether you are already in retirement, whatever the timing. These are good questions to be asking yourself and resources to know about. So we hope this seminar will get you thinking, will get your planning. And we're going to start with a video of a colleague, Tom Evola. Tom worked at WashU for many years and has been retired for several years now. Please listen to his advice to start us off this evening. The video's if the video's quiet, please know that the closed captioning is enabled if you would like to turn that on. Tom, please give us the best advice you have for those thinking about retirement.
So I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have some kind of idea of what you might want to do, some kind of plan. You know, I went to one of those Washington University HR panel discussions, and there were 3 people who came who were recent retirees, and they came and spoke. And they were lined up at the table in front, and I went to hear them speak. That's what I really wanted to hear, is what other retirees had to say. And the one on the left said, well, I love being retired. I'm having a great time. I'm being with my family, my grandchildren, and we're traveling, and I fly a plane now and then. He was a pilot that he had never gotten to explore with doing that during his work years. So he was now flying to New Orleans and back periodically for fun and taking the family. The woman in the middle, she said, oh, I'm spending all kinds of time with my grandchildren and family, and she says, going out for dinner and just relaxing and doing things around the house. And so there was 2 of the 3 said these shared experiences of great joy with retirement. The third person, the person on the right, said she looked over at the other 2 and she looked back at us and she said, well, I don't know about them, but that's not my experience. And she just went on to talk about how she still wished she was at work and how she had nothing to do. So I guess there's not one solution for everyone. Not every solution is going to work for every person. You have to explore your own inner self, and you should do it before you retire, and you should think about what you're going to do and what you want to most do that maybe you haven't done before. Take the plunge in that regard and explore. I'm certainly doing it, and I have no regrets. So
you'll be hearing more from Tom later. We have some more clips from some retirees to give you some advice and hear about their experiences. We have 3 parts to our workshop. We're waiting to get out of that video to our next slide.
Give us
Yeah, take a minute. We are going to, oops, I think that's an overview of some of the components that we're going to be going through tonight. We're going to talk about the ingredients of a successful retirement, talking some about each of those questions. It will be interspersed with some stories from colleagues that we have recorded. And then we're going to get started with some planning tools and resources for you. So I would like to next introduce Chris Fry, who's going to be running this seminar for us. Chris is a psychotherapist by training. He's an author. He's a teacher. He has several books, and he's a nationally recognized speaker on collaborative cancer care, life transitions, and healthy relationships. He's done a lot of workshops for us at the Brown School, and he's been leading us in the development of this workshop for several years now. I'm sure you will enjoy hearing from Chris. And Chris, before I turn it over, I'll remind people that if they have questions, please use the Q&A to put the questions that we will then organize and get to at the end of the session. Use the chat for sharing your answers about concerns and what you're looking forward to. There will be a bit of a break. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Natalie and Emily. Welcome. Offer my welcome to all of you. Really glad that you've chosen to join us for this topic that we've been working on for a number of years to develop a better understanding of how to craft an interesting, an engaging, an active later stage of life. For the purposes of our discussion tonight, if you've heard me speak before, you know I tend to think in terms of moving from ideas to action. So we will be talking about some issues that you can reflect on. You'll receive a tool later that you can do some writing with. And most important for many of you will be how you can take from this workshop some ideas of how to discuss your transition, your next move with the most significant people in your life. So let's jump right into those questions that Nancy started us with. The first component of this project that we've worked on for a number of years, the 5 W's of a successful retirement. As you're reading these, we're gonna just move through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's take it to when and go a little deeper into that part of the process. When should we retire? When should I retire? We know from our work and from a great deal of the research that no matter what your financial status is at the time of your retirement from full-time work, that you will have a higher quality of life if you plan for these non-financial aspects of retirement that we're going to be discussing this evening. As Nancy mentioned, many of us will keep on working despite being in a good place financially because we want to. Many of the rest of us will continue to work after retirement from a full-time career because it's necessary. Some of us will feel like we are ready and have enough saved. Some of us are not. So there's both want and need involved in this. Research still tells us, though, that financial factors are not the dominant reasons for retiring from full-time work. There are other very important factors that help us, encourage us, and oftentimes challenge us to make that choice, which takes us to the second question. Why will I retire when I will retire? I want to, I need to. There's a wonderful model that we've been using for quite some time now called the push-pull factors of preparing for retirement. The idea being that in some ways, there are issues that are pushing us will or are pushing us from behind, away from full-time work. You can see some of those reflected in the slides. Some of the challenges of the pandemic. A large study was done that 29% of the people in this particular study changed their decisions and feeling pushed away from full-time retirement related to the pandemic. So there are many issues that are personal to you, unique to you and your significant others that may draw you, push you away from full-time employment into your next stage. For some of us, what we're pulled toward and what pulls us away from employment will be at least as important as what pushes on us. We may be, and one factor of this is the wonderful opportunities that we might be pulled toward in this later stage of life. Tonight, whether you're just beginning planning or you're well into it, some of you may already be retired and are curious about this subject. What will you be pulled toward? Grandchildren, hobbies, health concerns, needs to be for you to be a caregiver. There are many things that pull us away from retirement, away from employment, excuse me, and into our next stage of life. If you are somewhat daunted by what your push-pull factors are, some of you are already probably very clear on what you feel pushed away from, what you would like to move toward. Others of you are, this is new to your thinking. Here's some questions for you to begin to consider. You'll receive the PowerPoint from us, so it isn't necessary for you to put a lot of energy into writing down the questions tonight. You'll receive them and be able to work with them over time. It is really important to know that this model that we're presenting you tonight is an evolving model that you can return to over and over and over. I've worked with this in my own life and had the opportunity to use some of our work with friends and family. And I know that it's possible to return as we change, as we age, we can return to these questions and continue to work with new adventures and new possibilities. Let's turn to our friend Frances now, and Frances will give us a little bit of her story that perhaps will spark some of your own ideas in terms of push-pull factors.
Would have worked possibly a year longer. It wasn't on my mind then to retire, but becoming a caregiver, the situation of my son, the needs that I come across that needed to be looked into, I decided it was time to retire. And I liked what I was doing. I loved my job. Once I talked it over with my boss and some colleagues, I didn't feel any push or pull to leave work. They were very supportive. The thing that pulled me away from work was the caregiving. So continued to have meetings with TIA, CREF, saving, and said, okay, if I look at this and then my Social Security, then I can look at retiring. I loved working. I wasn't planning, but this is something that came up. You never know what life is going to deal you. And it could be a family member. It could be you. You just never know.
And so we'll take a minute to get back to the PowerPoint. Frances gives a really important message. You never know exactly what life will deal you. Some of you will identify with what she shared, that she was pulled toward certain responsibilities. She was not really pushed from employment. She still cared very dearly about her employment. Others of you will feel different. That's why this project, this template is created to allow you to fit yourself and your situation and your significant others into the process of retirement. One last note I'd like to make about push-pull factors is an idea that I call feeling complete. Some of you may be in this process of transitioning into your next move because you feel done with the work, with the job, with the primary career that you've devoted a lot of energy to. You've done your work, you've done it well, perhaps you've done it for a long time, and you are ready for a new venture, a new adventure. So what will your next mission be? You're not necessarily pushed by anything negative or pulled toward any particular concern. You simply feel ready to make a change. Which takes us to our next question, the who. The next W is, who will I be in retirement? Your identity. Some of the research talks a great deal about who will be the most affected in terms of the shift, the transition. And one of those factors for many of us is identity. If you are one of those people who defines yourself from what I call an I am place, that may be quite different in terms of the level of grief and loss than if you identify yourself as an I do person. I am a farmer, I am a truck driver, I am a social worker, I am an educator is quite different than I do certain kinds of work that I care about, that perhaps I've done very, very well, that matters to me. However, my identity from that I do place your identity may not be nearly as connected to your career and your work. If you are one of those I am people, this factor might be particularly important to you. I would really encourage you, if you've not already read a famous book by William and Susan Bridges, Transitions. It's a business book that talks very clearly and very specifically about how to kind of go through that mid-range of emotion and thought and experience as you transition from a very important stage of your life into a next stage. Who will you be as you move into this stage? Who will you continue to be? We're going to talk some more in a few minutes about what you kind of can take with you from your work, because you will continue in many ways to be this person that you've been for so long. And who do you yet want to become? Toward the end, we're going to operationalize some of this and give you a tool to work with to help you take these ideas and begin to figure out how you will actually spend your time and energy in this new stage of life. So what will your next move be? What will your encore experience be? A term that's been used a lot in the world of aging and research these days. The next W then is the what. What will this look like? What will I go for? The second really large component of our model after the 5 W's is what we call the ingredients of a successful retirement. You'll see that our pie has equal portions, just like we're trying to divide it up again among our family members, and no one wants to be shortchanged. However, as you look at your pie right now in your life in terms of these 5 components, yours isn't, of course, quite as equal and neat and tidy always. This is part of our model and an opportunity for you to put your personal experience into what these ingredients look like in your life today and how you envision they might look going forward. We're going to concentrate on purpose, social, leisure, health, and wellness. That is not to shortchange financial security. We, in my counseling work for many years, and working with folks moving toward retirement, that is often the first area of concern, and is an area that we hope you'll continue to work through and work on and continue to feel more and more stable in. We know that those other 4 components, though, those other 4 ingredients are so critical to what your quality of life will be going forward. A couple other important factors of these ingredients is that they overlap and feed one another. So we know that purpose connects with our social, how we approach our social life, leisure life, health and wellness. I noticed as several of you are entering your ideas about chief concerns going forward, several of you mentioned health and wellness issues, which all feed into financial security, and around and around we go. So these issues overlap, they interact, they can feed each other in areas of challenge and concern, but they can also really feed each other in terms of opportunity. Let's talk about that opportunity just for a moment. These ingredients are of course, important to our quality of life at any age. Every stage of life offers opportunities and challenges in designing a quality life experience. We also know, and you know, that the risks and challenges of older age and retirement can be quite different than when we were younger. Things like disconnection from work routines, significant change in structure, health limitations, social changes, loss of meaning. These are all factors that we're going to discuss a little more as we move forward this evening. The opportunities, though, are many. Perhaps the one that we've listed here is perhaps the issue that I've heard the most folks talk about in counseling and in our education program. The opportunity to have more choice, more discretion in how you reshape and rebalance that pie, where you want to put your energy, where you want to put your time, who and what matter most to you in this next chapter of your life can be really one of the most exciting parts of working with our model. So let's break those 4 non-financial ingredients down a little bit and talk about them specifically. I really believe that continuing to find purpose and meaning is kind of the underpinning that a lot of our wellness and health feeds from in this later stage of life. You may be very clear from the work that you've done for a long time about where you've found purpose and meaning in career, in job, in, for some of you, your mission. This is very personal. It's based on your values, what you've been passionate about, your aspirations through the years, perhaps what you believe you were put on this planet to dedicate your energy to. It's very subjective. It's very much about you and the people that you most value, who and what gives you purpose and meaning in your life. As you go forward, there's a model that was put out by a large study around aging and retirement. And I just like these 3 components as we begin to think about purpose and meaning in this next chapter. Continuing to give, continuing to grow, and enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. If you look at the bottom of the PowerPoint, that last sentence is a real key here as we enter in and move through this next chapter of our life. Purpose can be something very macro, something that you have been dedicated to for a long time or have been looking forward to putting energy toward, to really change and move the world and do engage in things that really move the world into a better place. It's important to note that, though, that purpose and meaning can be very small or daily things that are personal to you. Getting up and having that first cup of coffee with someone that you really care about, checking on your flowers, calling friends, getting to know your neighbors better. And so, again, those of you who have heard me speak know that I think a lot in circles and in continuums. So purpose is very much a continuum that can move from dedicating time and energy to a cause that's deeply meaningful to you, all the way to those little daily things that really make getting out of bed every day worthwhile. There's a man by the name of Jet Verts, and Jet developed this information that is in this slide. I find it really useful and interesting in thinking about purpose and meaning in retirement and where I want to enter into the process, where I want to put my time and energy. You'll find a wonderful podcast, an interview with Jet on a podcast that I would series that I would recommend to all of you called Retirement Wisdom. It'll be in your resource list that you'll receive. Podcast interviews, they're short, they're specific, and they cover literally just about every topic around retirement that you could imagine. You can pick and choose the ones that are most interesting to you. So Jet's idea is that meaning can be what I engage in for myself, continuing to stay creative. And I believe that everyone, even though I've not met most of you, everyone is creative. You may not think of yourself as a creative. Being creative is not the same as being artistic. Artistic is one aspect of that. You've created much in your life. Continuing to be creative and curious, devoting energy to your personal growth, your spiritual life, and for some of you, more energy into spirituality and your faith-based life. On the next level, purpose and meaning can be about your family, your friends, your significant others, how you have nurtured relationships and will continue to nurture relationships. And as the aging process continues, build new opportunities, find new people to interact with and create important relationships with. Third level is community. This is that change the world kind of component where you really want to help others, perhaps volunteer, maybe put energy toward new work that has had meaning to you, and you've not been able to put as much energy toward this as you would like during your full-time career and growing up years. So let's hear from our friend Joan, who's been with us, I think, from the very beginning, almost from the very beginning of this project. A video from Joan that will talk to you a little bit about her pretty significant shift in purpose.
My name's Joan Fernandez, and I'm a full-time author. I've written the first draft of my historical fiction book, and I'm deep into revising it. But if you'd had a crystal ball and told me 5 years before my retirement that I'd be doing this now, there's no way I would have believed you. I was really into my job. I was a general partner at a financial services firm, and I loved what I was doing. I loved the people that I work with and the contribution I was making. I remember the moment when the light bulb went off. I was having lunch with some friends at this little Thai place we used to go to, hide out from work. And we were kidding around about what should be on our tombstone. Like, here I lie, filling my last cavity. Or, I told you I was sick. It gets to be my turn, and I say, here lies Joan. She always said she'd write a book, but she never did. And we all laughed, except for me, deep in my stomach. It's like somebody kicked me. And I thought, oh gosh, what if I never write a book? It's something I dreamed about since college. If I'm going to call myself a writer, I have to write. So I started a blog. It was so hard. It was so risky and scary because I realized this really meant a lot to me. Even around that fear, I was energized. I found that I was curious and loving to learn about this and having so much fun. But then at work, I realized I had less passion, less than I used to have. And I looked around and I saw all these talented people, and it started to make me think, maybe I should be moving over on the bench and giving them a chance. But there's such a stigma around that word, retirement, like you're finished. And that didn't describe me. I'm not done with me. So I changed from the blog to finding a book that I wanted to research and write. So when I announced my retirement, I had a tailwind behind me that was pushing me into this next stage. It hasn't all been a bed of roses. It's really hard to change from an identity of being a leader in a large organization to now being a solo writer working from my basement office. But it's moving me into a whole new stage of my life. You know, they say that sometimes the harder the struggle, the greater the prize.
So I think Joan has returned to help us and work with us on this project multiple times. I believe she would be okay with and happy to have me share with you that she is not just working on a novel at this point. I believe that Joan has a publisher for her first novel. So that's pretty significant and pretty incredible. As a writer myself, pretty difficult to find publishers. And that's pretty exciting news. So she has continued to evolve and grow, and she's had some challenges along the way. So it's important to see that she's one of those unique examples of choosing a path that spoke to her and having the opportunity, with a lot of effort on her part, to pursue that path. Our next related interactive component then is the social ingredient. Of course, I've got to start with family. Some of us come from large families, some small families. Some of us have ready access to families who are close by. My family is spread out all over the country. The importance of considering how family will be in this later stage of life, how they will factor in, and perhaps how you want to include them in your planning process or not, is a key component of your next move. Sometimes we seek out family members to be primary consultants. I've had the opportunity to chat with a number of family members about their next move. Other times, there will be very specific people that you will consider seeking out as consultants. In any event, family for many of us has been and will continue to be primary and central to our social commerce as we go forward. That being said, the next two notes in the PowerPoint are what we believe to be very important in the aging process. Good friends are good medicine. One of the things, if you keep track of our culture and where we're at in mental health these days, there is a lot of talk about loneliness and the importance of social connection as being a health issue, emotionally and even physically. So remember that good friends are good medicine, and don't underestimate the power of peers. There's some wonderful research being done that shows, I've recently seen an AARP study that shows that the positive power of age mates in our lives runs just a little below, kind of neck and neck with the power of engagement with family as we continue to age. It's important not to underestimate the value of age mates, of continuing to be close and connected to people who have shared experience with us, and as we age, perhaps the necessity to generate new and different connections. The last note in the PowerPoint may be a bit less familiar to some of you. It's the idea of consequential strangers, the importance of how little connections, sometimes that go on for a short period of time and end, sometimes those connections are one moment, and how they can become a huge part of our sense of being socially connected to others, of value, seen, and heard. It may be as simple as, did you open the door for someone and have a momentary chat with them today as you were entering the store? Did you stand in line at the grocery store and have a short interaction with someone? Are you putting a bit more energy into getting to know your neighbors as a result of the pandemic, or as a result of slowing down in your work schedule and moving in a new direction? If you are on the more introverted side and prefer quite a bit of solitude to regenerate after social connection, these consequential strangers can be keys to your day. If you're extroverted, more on the extroverted end of the continuum, consequential strangers are just another marvelous opportunity to meet new people and perhaps even make new friends. I'm a big fan of libraries. I had an experience yesterday where, I like to go to the library, do what I do there, but I also like to watch and listen. And it's interesting to me the number of people who go there not only to check out books, not only to use the computer, go there to interact with those lovely people behind the desks that work in the library. Some of my favorite people, librarians. They are consequential strangers. Might be one contact, might be a once a week contact. Don't underestimate those connections with age mates, good friends, and consequential strangers. If you are struggling some with getting a vision of what your social life might look like as you enter into retirement, here's some ideas that might help you work with that. And once again, I saw several of you enter into chat that social life is one of your primary concerns. This may be especially worrisome for those of you who get a great deal of your relationship time from your work and career. So you'll want to start, no time like the present is one of the mottos of our project. You'll want to start now to create, strengthen those connections outside of work, beyond family, in addition to beginning to think about and talk about how you'll maintain key connections with people that you've worked with, perhaps for many, many years. I'm just going to note a couple of things in particular on this slide also. I use social media. We talk about the use of social media. I don't mean randomly or several hours a day. I do know, though, we do know that there are people that you may not be able to see as often as you would like, or connect in some ways as you would like, that you can stay connected to through social media. So use it specifically in ways that suit you. Really important to know that isolation is detrimental in so many ways. And so solitude may be useful to you. Time with people is useful to you. Isolation will not be. The last point, become a joiner, which will be perhaps very difficult for some of you. You don't think of yourself that way. It's not really what you like to do or spend your time. In our model, again, so very important to think about being a joiner in relation to who you are and who you want to be and how you will want to continue to live. You might join a large organization, make a lot of new acquaintances and a number of new friends. You may join, I was on a walk the other day. I walked in a park. I passed 4 people who were in the woods with their binoculars, talking in hushed voices, doing bird watching. So look for those kind of opportunities as you move into this next stage of life that really fit where you're at and who you are. I'm going to introduce you to our friend Becky now, and she'll talk a little more about this. Becky spent 20 years at the Knight Alzheimer's Research Center here in St. Louis. She began to look forward to retirement more after two really significant and difficult losses in her life, her husband and her mother. Becky was very rooted in St. Louis. At the time she was preparing for retirement, though, she was invited to move to LA to be close to her daughter, her son-in-law, and her grandchildren. She is for me, one of the people that reminds me of the importance of intentional planning. We're going to talk about where a bit later this evening. You'll hear from Becky a second time. Right now, what I'd like you to listen to is how she has processed some of the social challenges of this change, her view of herself as identity, in terms of her identity. And it is important, in particular, I'd like to mention, I've been asked to mention, that the necklaces that Becky has around her neck were crafted by her grandchildren. She asked that she wear them to be videoed for our presentation, for our workshop. So that's a pretty cool thing about social life and family. Let's hear from Becky.
Even though my daughter and son-in-law and my grandkids, I feel that their love for me, and of course I love them. But I feel lonely a lot. I really do. I mean, I have a couple of friends out here and I take art classes and I'm starting to recognize people, the same people show up at the same classes no matter where they're given. So, that's been nice. But I had this feeling very early on that I could not identify because I had never in my entire life felt lonely. But now when they're all sitting on the couch together and watching a movie or they're talking about taking a family trip, which obviously I'm not going to go with. My best words of advice are, the first thing is that please don't think just because you're going to this place where people love you, that it's going to be easy, because it isn't. I mean, there's a lot of loss involved when you're leaving behind. You're leaving a place that you've lived for, I don't know, I've lived in St. Louis for, I think I lived there 35 years. So there's a great loss there. My kids are there. So what could be wrong?
Right,
and
yeah.
they get there and it's like, the kids are in school and their parents are working and life goes on for them. Nobody's going to put on the brakes and go out for lunch with you because you're retired. I mean, you got to make your own. It's like, that's what it is. That's what it is. I had to come out here and make a whole new life for myself. Pretty much by myself. And that's not easy. Even though.
And so a couple of things that Becky really brings to us, kind of circling back to the importance of honoring the grief, the loss, the change when you move on from work that you may have spent many, many years and a great deal of time and energy investing in. It's important to give yourself space to have that experience and go through that process. We don't just flip a light switch. Most of us are not able to just flip a light switch and go from that kind of investment into this new stage of life. It's okay to know this is a process. It's a journey. You may have a great deal of excitement. You may have some worries, and you may have a certain amount of loss and pain to think about, to allow yourself to feel emotionally, and hopefully to share with people that you're close to, that you trust, including professionals. if you need to seek out that kind of support and assistance. Connected to, oh, sorry, missed one other thing I wanted to highlight. Becky really reminds us of what I mentioned in that slide, the importance of age mates, the importance of peers. And if you are planning to change location in retirement, which we're going to talk a bit more about later, that becomes even more important as you craft new connections and new relationships. Our next component, our next ingredient then is leisure. The first question is one I have used for many years in a lot of different seminars: stress management, balancing your personal and professional lives, and thinking about leisure. So what I'd like to ask you to do is, I'm going to ask you a quick question, just kind of see what comes to mind quickly. How many of you have one or more activities that are relaxing, that refill your tank, that are positive, that clear your head of other projects and concerns and close out the world for a while you're engaged in those things? Just see if one or two particular activities comes to mind. If you'd like to share them in chat, please feel free to do that. Reading and listening to music, fishing, guitar, reading, cooking, gardening, playing flute. Someone says leisure is going to be one of the hardest things. We'll get to that in just a moment. Thanks for your input. Taking classes. So there are a lot of activities that you engage in that really are that you may have the opportunity to expand on. Things that you're already invested in, have been invested in for a long time. That I know one thing I love to do is write, and for many years I kind of fit writing into the margins of my life. In this later stage of life that I'm in, I have the opportunity to spend more time and energy toward writing than I used to. If you, in the years that I've used this question in workshops, about 50% of the audience has at least one activity. If you are in that 50% that does not, no worries. Don't need to be daunted by the prospects of your future leisure life. We could look at those next two questions. What are activities that you have cared about and have drifted away from over time? Activities that were relaxing, meaningful, refilled your tank, that perhaps you've even told yourself you wish you were still involved in them, or they were could be important to you again. So for some of you, you'll be recapturing activities, leisure activities that have been very meaningful. Another question is, what have you promised yourself you would do or do more of to relax, to take care of yourself, to refuel someday when you had the time or energy? Some of these may be things that you've cared about for a long time. There may be new and different things you want to try. One of our friends, David, who's been involved in our project at different times, talks about the whole idea of experimentation also, that if we allow ourselves to enter into this stage of life without having to have all the answers yet, opportunities will present themselves and we can experiment. You may remember some of you when you were young, when you were a child, and you tried a lot of different things before you found a couple of activities in particular that really spoke to you, a certain sport or chess or science or what running or bicycling, whatever those things are, you can experiment, cast some aside, and attach to others that you find very interesting and useful. I tried Tai Chi and kayaking after I retired from my full-time work. Tai Chi didn't really speak to me. Mindfulness and relaxation and meditation does. But kayaking on lakes without a lot of waves and whitewater, yeah, that was pretty wonderful. And I want to continue in that. Last question for all of us is, how would we each begin to inject more fun into our day, since this is the evening, into tomorrow? So much of your next move, this model that we're talking about tonight, is about what you will start now and what you will give yourself time to develop as you go forward. Take a moment and ask yourself, how would you have a little more fun tomorrow? And then make a commitment to yourself, I hope, to give that a try and go do that. And our fourth ingredient, health and wellness. As I mentioned, I love continuums. I love circles. Health and wellness, as you all know, really is circular. Our cognitive health connects to our emotional health, connects to our physical health, connects to our cognitive health. So wellness really is a circle of how we can feed ourselves with new opportunities and new possibilities in this stage of life. If you look at cognitive health, intellectual engagement, being a lifelong learner, staying curious, being creative, we know that those are all highly impactful in terms of mental alertness, mental acuity. Also, though, they really do feed emotional and physical health. Emotionally, one of the interesting things that I find about a later stage of life is that some of your old stressors will simply disappear. Perhaps you won't ever have to commute in rush hour again. Perhaps you'll never have to go to that one weekly Thursday meeting that you've always found boring ever again. There may be certain stressors that melt away, living by the clock. Some stressors will remain, family concerns, certain health concerns, perhaps other things. And there will be new stressors that present themselves as we age. It's important to honor those emotional changes, to really enjoy the stressors that drop away. Take time to enjoy the stressors that drop away. Think about them, log them in, write them down. What don't you have to worry about anymore? And really commit to getting the care that you need, the support you need. We're back to social support again, sometimes friends, sometimes family, perhaps even professionals. Really having that social support that you require to help you with your ongoing emotional health. And then physical. A lot of folks in our work in this project and in my counseling work have talked a great deal about wanting to get back to more physical activity at this stage of life. This can be part of leisure. One of the things I like to say is when we were children and we called it play, we wanted to do it all the time. When we started to call it working out and exercise, for some of us it became another responsibility or perhaps even a chore to be avoided. Physical activity, as our bodies allow, is really important in this later stage of life as we move into and through retirement. And I want to highlight as our bodies allow. There's a wonderful article actually in AARP magazine this month about physical activity that we can do from a chair if we have certain physical or age limitations. Sleep is important. Perhaps you will sleep. I remember one gentleman that I worked with telling me that as he moved from his full-time employment into his next stage, he slept like he had not slept for many years comfortably, and woke up alert and relaxed. You may want to put energy toward nutrition in a different way. And I encourage you as you age to seek out the medical care and the support that you need to take care of yourself physically, that will help you cognitively, that will help you emotionally. And once again, around and around we go. So the next part of that, what, W, how do we get there? You may be feeling a little daunted by the amount of information that I've shared so far. We're going to try to help you take care of some of that tonight as we move from ideas to possible actions and what really fits you. We don't have to be all things or do all things in retirement. Pathways to this next component are pathways to a successful retirement, you will note, can all be connected in ways that fit who you are. And like balance, the amount of time and energy you put to one or more of these pathways is very much about the choices you make through a successful retirement. And let's break those down a little as they interact and overlap and form your unique picture of how you will spend your time and energy in retirement. Some of you will, as we've mentioned, continue in part-time, maybe even full-time work. That may be out of necessity. It may be out of choice and interest. Another person that has helped us a lot through this project is a person who was an anthropologist. And in her retirement life, she has started a business refurbishing and selling found items, and also invested in family history gathering. My picture of her as the first time we met and I heard her story was she has continued to be an anthropologist post her full-time career. So you may be pursuing self-employment, entrepreneurship, part-time, or other full-time work out of necessity and or interest. Staying curious, continuing to be a lifelong learner, whether that is informal or formal. You may take dance classes, you may join a photography group, you may see that walk through the same park I was in the other day and meet those bird watchers. You have the opportunity to stay curious and be a lifelong learner. The resource list that we will be sending you with the PowerPoint has a number of opportunities, informal educational opportunities that are available in our community. Many of you will continue to seek formal education. You may finish a degree. It's been done. Many of you will continue to attend continuing education programs to maintain professional certifications for a number of years after you leave your full-time career. Whatever speaks to you, whatever keeps you engaged and invested and active and gives your life purpose and meaning. More time and energy for hobbies. That's something that a lot of us have time to do in retirement. Some of these may be solo activities, things you enjoy doing in the quiet with yourself. and many of them may be social activities feeding back into that social ingredient to offer you the opportunity to continue and maintain and build new social connections. Volunteerism, many of you are probably active volunteers and have been for some time. There may be specific issues, causes that are deeply meaningful to you, that you have been involved in volunteerism for a long time. Some of you have promised yourself that that is a place that you're going to put some energy. Again, in our resource list, there'll be a number of resources you can access to find possibilities. It's important to note, I think, that volunteerism can be ongoing. It can be time limited. There may be something that you will be involved in for a long period of time on a regular basis in a structured way. I've worked with many people, though, that also prefer time-limited volunteerism, not wanting that structure of every Monday and Wednesday at a certain time. They devote themselves to single projects that have deep meaning to them that are time limited, and then at some point find another project. Self-care is a pathway that really integrates all those 5 ingredients that I spoke of earlier into your life. How you continue to address and view kind of the big picture of who you are in your life with your most significant people, with your significant others. How you connect purpose and leisure and social life and health and wellness with your financial well-being in terms of your own interests and needs and those of the people you're closest to. It's really important to note that many of us retire in ways that are different than some of the people that we're close to. If you're in a primary relationship, you and your partner may not retire from full-time employment at the same time. I have the benefit of having several close friends that are older than me and retired earlier than me. They've been wonderful guides in terms of the experiences they've had and what has worked for them and how they've worked through challenges that they face. So I would encourage you to draw on others for social support, but also for mentorship and information about this self-care component. And of course, the importance of how you will devote time and energy to family. I would note some of you know what the difference between family of origin and family of choice is. Family of origin, those people that we come from. Many of us also have what some of us in my field call family of choice. The people that we've collected who we may not be related to by blood, the people that we have collected and really have become family. Our children have several aunts who have been appointed as aunts over the years as they have grown. Let's hear from Tom again, who will tell us a little bit about his experience in planning his pathways.
The thing I enjoy most about retirement is the freedom. The scheduling is so much different than the normal work world. The truth is I'm retired from full-time work, and that's because I work part-time. And the best thing about part-time work is that it is part-time. So I have a commitment to be at my part-time job on those very specific days. But it's like every other day in between those days is a weekend. And what I'm involved in now are the things that I would like to explore, and I can explore them on a part-time basis without some of the stress of a full-time demanding job. I spend a lot of time thinking about art and preparing for when I can become a docent. I study at least one full day a week on that, as if I'm getting ready to be ready for an art history master's. I spend another full day a week doing Spanish. I'm in a Spanish group where we practice Spanish conversation. I have a daughter on the East Coast and a son on the West Coast. Travel to see them. We have great places to visit. There's a blend between work, which is my part-time work, and all the other activities that interest me. The biggest surprise is how much I love it, how much I like retirement and what I'm doing.
I saw something in chat that some of you may be having had difficulty hearing Tom. He really talked very eloquently, as he does, about his part-time work, and that he really loves what he loves so much about part-time work is it's part-time. Tom is one of the most active people I've met in this retirement work. You may or may not be as active as Tom. He's living what he really feels is his best life at this stage of life. So he's a wonderful model for our opportunities, your opportunity, mine, to consider what our best life can be as we enter into this stage of retirement. Which means we have an opportunity to create this new balance. This graph shows one example of someone who has moved from a life that's been very focused in 3 of the ingredients into a very different kind of balance, a very different kind of pie of life, time, and energy in this later stage of life. Someone entered in chat earlier that perhaps feeling a little daunted by some of this, maybe I won't retire. I would tell you that you will get to continue to be really funny in retirement, which is great. That was an interesting comment, and very funny. There's great opportunity. I hope you're hearing that there's great opportunity here, not a process that you need to have all the answers to today. You're here tonight. You have time. Take that time to get a picture and imagine a picture of how you will create a rebalancing in your life. Which takes us to the last W, place matters. A term that's talked about a lot in aging these days is aging in place, remaining in whatever that physical space is that we live in, and perhaps in the community that we have lived in. I heard a really interesting quote the other day that said, aging in place is an idea, not a plan. And so as we reflect back on what Becky shared with us earlier, whatever your thoughts are about where you will live, what the physical space will be, what community you will want to retire to and live in, it's important to know that living our best life includes putting energy toward these ingredients in these pathways wherever you go, wherever you live. They have great value and great importance. So let's go back to Becky, and she'll give us a few tips that have worked for her.
To Los Angeles a number of times. So in between deciding to tentatively deciding to move out here, I probably flew out here, including during the pandemic. I flew out here probably 4 or 5 times, which it was a luxury. I just tried to see what it was going to be like living here every single day. So eventually on one visit, I got in the car and drove, and then I just came out here and, you know, went to the grocery store. I just didn't do any kind of touristy things. And I wasn't running around sort of with a dry mouth, knowing that I would have to leave and go home. And we had to see this museum or that museum before I left. I just came out multiple times with the intention of just seeing what it might be like to live here day to day. What I ended up doing was trying to sort of replicate what I had in St. Louis. In other words, you know, I loved going to the art museum. I absolutely loved riding my bike around Forest Park. I loved going to, you know, art stores and knitting stores and just, you know, whatever I like to do, I tried to replicate that here in Los Angeles. So I found a gym. It may sound like it's not that big of a deal, but every place that I went, I just made it a point to chat everybody up and ask them their name and just, you know, kind of find out more about them. And it helps in making connections, I think, when you can go into the bookstore where they have a coffee shop, and when you come in, they know who you are. I was hesitant. I mean, I probably didn't do that until I was here for a couple of months. I mean, you know, it wasn't like I just dove in and was, you know, sort of grabbed the bull by the horns. It was a slow process. And then I would just, every day, I would just go to an art museum, and there's a million of them out here, and there's tons of parks. So I would just take a chair and go to the park and sit down and knit or sit down and read, or just to kind of get a feeling of, you know, the slow life around here, or what I wanted my life to look like here in Los Angeles.
I apologize. Apparently, we've had some trouble with the volume on the last two videos, so I apologize for that difficulty. Let's take just about a 2-minute break for you to be able to get up and stretch. And we'll kind of get into the final stretch of our work together. So if you want to just stand up for a couple of minutes and move around, replenish your water, let's get back together in just about 2 minutes, and we'll make a couple notes about what's in chat. And so feel free to check into the chat, and there are a number of shared concerns, but also a number of shared things that folks are excited about, looking forward to retirement. Let's go into the home stretch, because I definitely want to save a few minutes at the end for questions. This workshop is not only information, it's a call to action. And so what's next for you? I would encourage you to, I'm going to jump to the next slide after this, Natalie, because I have an idea about that. I would encourage you to make a list if you are feeling, particularly if you're feeling daunted by this amount of information, Make a list of all the major life transitions you have navigated successfully in your life. Everyone in this audience tonight is already an expert at navigating transitions. Put it in writing if you can, at least think about it. Make a list. I encourage you to also make a list of strengths, talents, and life experiences. And then either think about or write about, if you are so moved, who are the external people resources that you know you can turn to, who will support you in creating your advanced plan for retirement, who will support you, give you ideas, listen to you, encourage you, maybe even challenge you. And who are those people that you might not always count on, but somehow you know they would be a good resource for this particular topic? Other external resources that will be in the list you'll receive. There are classes, seminars, online opportunities, readings, and many, many experts in every aspect of aging and retirement. You'll also have realistic challenges, external challenges, where you're at or your significant others are at in their health, concerns about finances, ongoing relationship needs. There's an internal piece I'd like to mention quickly. We all talk to ourselves. We all have conversations with ourselves. And when we are in a self-defeating place, we have a tendency to have one or two favorites that we use to talk ourselves out of optimism and opportunity and possibility. I would encourage you, as you do your planning, to, as much as possible, stay in the place of realistic positivism. What might be possible, what might work in your planning, what you will commit to, what you will take action on, who you will ask for help, what your best guess is of how to move forward on a certain issue if you're not sure, and who you will turn to for additional information. As much as possible, stay in a place of realistic positivism. And we're going to finish with a tool that you'll, just a little description of a tool you can use to think about, collect the information that we've talked about tonight, think about it, reflect on it, write about it, and hopefully discuss with significant others, the people that you trust most, care most about, and care most about you. This is a tool that you can work on over time and return to at different stages of your retirement. I've returned to it several times myself. It allows you to look at each ingredient in terms of your current situation, how you imagine you would like your future to be, and what the action steps can be to take you in those directions. This will evolve over time, and that's okay. You can start with a rough draft. We don't have to have all the answers right away. A quick example. So let's imagine we know a fully engaged employee who's planning to retire, strong work, social connections, family connections are strong, but not so much outside of work and family. You will use any of the 5 ingredients can be placed into this form. You name the ingredient, current satisfaction, and describe what you're most satisfied and or dissatisfied with in terms of your current situation in relation to that ingredient. Begin to imagine and describe the pathways and activities that really speak to you and that you're most interested in at this point as you're brainstorming. Identify those external and internal barriers. What are some of the challenges you're facing externally? What information, what help, what support do you need? And how might you get in your own way? Then identify those external and internal resources. Who will help you, who to turn to, who will encourage you, who will support you, who will give you the information you need or help you access it. And then that list of your talents, your strengths, the transitions you have moved through, your individual internal resources. What steps will you take now? This is a call to action. So what will you begin tomorrow, next week, next month? And then as you look forward and imagine into the future, whether your retirement is coming up very soon or you have considerable time to plan, what are the steps you will take for the future? If you're retiring, if your date of retirement is this time next week, it's still okay to enter into the process of now and imagining into the future as you move through retirement. I'm going to stop there. Oh, that is our resource list that you will also get. I'm going to stop there. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for what you've put into chat. And we're going to have around 10 minutes for any questions. So I will ask Nancy to come back on. And if folks have entered some questions, Natalie's going to help us with this.
Thanks, Chris. While people are maybe hopefully adding some questions or discussion points, I wanted to respond to a couple things in the chat. I think we all did smile when the comment came up about I don't want to retire after hearing Becky. You know, we really pulled out that segment of Becky's talk with us because we wanted to emphasize when people move to be by family, they have to worry about the friends part and all the other ingredients that they have to recreate. So we wanted to give that message, but I wanted to tell you, Becky's has no regrets. It's going well. She's doing well there. So that wasn't to freak you out as much as to say, don't forget about these other things that are going to take some work. So that was the message there. I also wanted to respond to the one comment you make, Chris, about becoming a joiner, when that freaks a lot of us out when we're not, or we haven't been, and we're facing a time when people are worried about social connections and activities. I liked your point that, you know, pick one activity that fits. Bird watching. In Tom's example, it was swimming. And he started swimming. Wasn't social. And within months, he's part of a swim club in a social group. I mean, you can start by doing one thing that meets multiple ends, like physical activity, and then it becomes social, and then it grows to other things. So don't think you have to do something humongous as a joiner. You can do something small and it hopefully will grow. It might be a small volunteer thing that gets bigger over time.
Mm-hmm. Good point. And so, are there other questions?
I noticed that one of our comments was about a person who stopped working with the intention of retiring and found herself back at full-time work. That happens. Some people get pulled back for whatever reasons, finances, social, they get asked to do something. But in this resource list, there's quite a few resources in our community about finding work later in life. ARP has some great resources for how to do your CV, how to go to, they have job fairs. So check out the resources under that if you think you want to do something different, but still work.
Some of you who engage in volunteerism will also find that as you're volunteering, people will go, well, there's an interesting, smart, hardworking person. Let's offer them a job. So as you volunteer, some of you may find that you will need to make a choice about whether to be drawn back into the world of paid work or not. Great thing will be many of you will have a choice.
There is a question that came in now.
Okay.
The question is, if my retirement is more than 10 years away, what are the best planning steps?
That's a great question because we have had some folks come quite early in the process who found it very valuable. really, it's no different. It's using the resources that we spoke of tonight, the information that we spoke of tonight, and beginning to enter the process of imagination. One piece we couldn't put into Tom's presentation that was in one of his videos was someone asked him when he started to think about retirement, and he said the day he started working for money. It's okay to take the information and can be incredibly useful that we've talked about this evening and start to enter the process of your creative imagination. Some of the ingredients you may find you want to balance differently now while you're still involved in full-time employment and not wait for that later stage of life, because balance can be a key issue at almost any stage of life for those of us who are busy and active.
Yeah, I would just add, Chris, your comment that these ingredients are the ingredients at any stage of life. So we can always be focusing on how we want to do different so that we feel better about things. But I also like Joan's story. We call it creating tailwind. It seems that people who start certain activities, start certain clubs, start certain volunteer, carry it through retirement a little more easy than if you're going to start to explore and experiment. So if you do think that you need to practice being a joiner, it's never too soon to start that. So creating a tailwind to bring you, soaring into retirement is a nice metaphor that Joan gave us.
Yes, we've had folks come to our seminars that have 10 years to retirement and are retiring, literally, as I spoke before, retiring next week. And all of them have later told us that they were able to find a way to engage this information, that as long as you think about it as how will you fit it to you and your circumstance and the important people in your life.
And Chris, did you see Teresa's comment in chat?
I did not.
She'd like to make a to-do list, as she did at the office every day, of things that she'd like to do that she hasn't. So the structure and the treating it as, your to-do list.
Yeah, I have a very good friend who called when he retired from full-time employment, very hard worker. And he said he was going to give himself 6 months without structure. He called me after about 2 and said he was ready to have some structure again, not as much as he had been used to. I continue to keep a schedule. It works for me. It's kind of how my brain works anyway. It's just not nearly as full. I think of Kathleen, Nancy, who says, I'm still very active during the day. Just don't call me before 10 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to change. I hope one of the messages that folks are taking is this isn't about changing who you are. It's about building who you are into this framework, into this template for planning an active, interesting, vibrant retirement for yourself.
Natalie, do we have any other questions?
We do have one more question
Alrighty.
that I think it'll probably be a long answer, so it might be something that might be easier for Chris and Larry to connect with offline.
Okay.
Terrific. Yeah, because I do see it 7 straight up. You will be seeing from us the PowerPoints, the resource lists, the worksheets will continue to be around at the Center for Aging. And if there's any follow-up, you can find us at the Center for Aging at WashU. I don't know if in our contact information will be, the email will come from us when we send you these resources. We certainly thank you for being here tonight. Hope you have something to take away. And thank you, Chris, very much. That was wonderful.
Good night.